beginning your SaaS security journey?
Of course, of course. I think really good advice is you should really know what you're using. Like have a good inventory.
Excellent. Ofer, give me some bad advice on dealing with your SaaS security journey.
I think you should just let everyone use whatever they want and never check it.
Oh, that is some bad advice. Now, Robert, can you one up that? Give me some worse advice in dealing with your security journey?
Yeah, I think I can beat that. Like just open source everything. Everybody should have access to everything, every internal document, all public knowledge.
At that point, do we need security? All right, let's begin.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Welcome, everybody, to Super Cyber Friday. I'm David Spark. Guess what? You are at the last Super Cyber Friday of 2023, entitled Hacking Your SaaS Security Journey. An hour of critical thinking of how to secure your SaaS applications in a holistic way. This is going to be a great conversation. And actually, I got some inside dirt on how unbelievable this issue is. Our guests for today are Robert Kugler. He's the head of security and compliance over at Cresta, and also Ofer Klein, who's a co-founder and CEO of Rico. Rico is our sponsor for today. Thank you so much, Rico, for sponsoring this very episode. And I just noticed that the Rico logo looks like Tinker Toys. It's great. Lots of ways to participate. We have the chat room, and here is the bad idea: how not to advance your SaaS security journey. So give us your bad ideas on that. Just remember to label it "bad idea," and then what your idea is. But also, we want your good tips. So just type in 10%, tips to improve your journey with SaaS security, or your SaaS security journey, if you will. You can join us on video. We actually had someone join us last week on camera, so just say, bring me on. You can ask a question. If you look in the upper right, there's a little speech bubble with a question mark in it. Click on that, ask your question. We love to answer your questions, so start sending them in right now regarding your SaaS security journey. And also, when we get lots of them, please vote for your favorite question so I know which one to address first as well. Today's schedule, you saw good advice, bad advice, worse advice. We have your bad ideas. You have your 10% tips. Then we'll play the public interest. Then we will play our new game, which we played last week, which went over well. I think we're going to refine the timing of it, Cyberburst. Then we'll play the Department of Yes. Oh, I did not tell Ofer and Robert about that. They're going to find out very soon about the Department of Yes. Your last questions and advice, and then we will do our meetup, which will be the link at the bottom of the screen. But that link at the bottom of the screen, guess what? That's our next scheduled show, which is January 1st, 2012, Hacking the Data Privacy Paradox, an hour of critical thinking on where to find the balance between business operations and personal information. Please make sure that you register for that, and you can do that at any time during the show. It will not take you out of this program. All right, I'm going to start with you, Ofer. Just what do we mean when we say, the SaaS security journey? What exactly is that?
Yeah, so the journey always need to start with understanding what you have. The unknown unknowns, we all know that, starts with understanding what do you have in your environment. The second level...
Before you go any further, I remember when we chatted doing our promotional video, you told me about what you discovered with some of your clients, and it shocked me. Give me an idea of so people understand there's a lot that they don't know, and why is it? Explain.
Yeah. So an idea of the number of apps. We always ask an embarrassing question, how many apps you have? Yeah, I have 100, 200. So the record so far is 11,000 apps, 108 admins on Microsoft. So really nice numbers. How many AI apps do you have? 7. No, you have 70 because you don't even check it. You don't know what you have.
Right, but how does that? Well, let's explain. How does that happen? How does one go from I think I got 100 to 11,000? Where does that math come about?
So let's think of a cloud-first, SaaS-first company. The most important thing for me is to run faster and better than my competitors. One of the ways to do it is to install another app. It could be an AI app that helps me be more productive. And all of a sudden, I'm becoming faster, better, more productive. The other side of it, if I don't check it, if I don't have controls, then there is a big risk issue that all of a sudden you don't even know what is connected, what permissions, what data is running where, etc.
Good point. Robert. Yeah, I want to point out that Robert is actually a customer. He works over at Cresta, but he's also a customer of Rico. what was it for you in the beginning of your journey, and how did you even know that you had to start this?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? When you're like dealing and figuring out that you have so many SaaS apps, and no matter really what you can do on the Okta side, you can have your IDP managed access to all sorts of things, but people are going to do just signing up for all sorts of things, and it means good for you if they sign up with SSO, with your Google account or whatever you use for SSO. But they can also sign up with all sorts of other things, like email, password, to all sorts of things you'll never be aware of. So I think that is really mind-blowing when you first go to your Google Workspace console and you figure out, oh shit, there's actually so much in there that you're not aware of, that you actually probably never really looked at. And that was really what was driving a little bit our motive to look a bit more into this.
All right. And by the way, please get your questions in. I didn't realize, like, actually, if you click in the discussion thing, a little question mark will put up, so you can do it right from when you start typing into the chat window as well. And the bad ideas just start streaming in. Trust all SaaS software for download. No need to vet them. That is a bad idea. I do agree. It's horrible. So now here's the obvious question. You go and find 11,000 SaaS apps, and my eyes bug out. Where the heck do I begin dealing with that? I mean, because and correct me if I'm wrong, Ofer, you always find more than what people think they've got, right? You must.
Yeah. We have a few what we call embarrassing questions of, do you know every app you have? Nobody knows. Do you
know? And most, I would assume most people agree that they don't know, but they don't think it's from 100 to 11,000.
Right. And now the entire thing is, how do you provide the value in the least amount of effort as well? Because I'm not an expert, no matter who I am on the security side, I'm not an expert on every app. I'm not an expert on SaaS a lot of times as well. So we've built a plan to allow you to first understand what you have. Now prioritize. What is important, what is not important. For example, more than 50% of the apps you're using today are unused. Someone installed it for marketing. It was a good idea back then. They don't use it for 10 years, for 10 months, for example. You can get rid of it. And then you go for the risky apps. So we have like a methodology that allows you in a very easy way to understand where is the biggest impact and what to do.
Robert, what did you end up doing when you discovered more than you thought you had?
Yeah, that's a classical security problem, right? You have so many apps right now. Where do you even start? So, and I think this is really where you start looking into prioritization. Okay, what do these apps really have access to? Like, is it the entire drive of the company? Then, of course, maybe it needs a little more attention. And that's really where you start mapping out the permissions and trying to understand your top 10% that you really need to look at right now, and start creating like your remediation path. Because it is still like a huge deal to really review 11,000 apps. That's insane. So you have to fix all the criticals.
Well, Ofer, what you had said, and actually James Sparenberg has kind of a funny joke here. He says 11,000 apps and 10,999 of them are temporary. I got to assume a significant portion of that 11,000 are unused. Like they haven't been touched, and all they are creating risk and not any value whatsoever.
Yeah,
and Drew Brown just posted that. Eliminate what isn't necessary. There you go. Go ahead, Ofer.
The effective number that we see, let's say in a 5,000 people company, is a few hundred to 1,000 apps that are actually using. Okay, so then the next step is to be able to prioritize, to disconnect exactly as it was written here in the chat. Disconnect what you don't need, and then to go deep on what we call core apps. Core app could be Salesforce, could be Slack, Zoom, etc. And then to make sure the configuration is correct and the users, like the identity-centric approach. What is the app and what are the users that are using it? Admins, highly privileged users, etc.
By the way, I think I may have incorrectly mentioned that our next show is on January 1st. I meant to say January 12th. January 12th. That's click the button at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for correcting me, producer who listens to the things I say. He doesn't actually ignore what I say. So thank you, Aaron, for that. Okay, so let's jump into it. No questions yet. People, get your questions in. There's no conceivable way, So what is actually, we know what the beginning of this journey is. What is our I guess let's say our mid goal and our end goal. I'll start with you, Robert. I mean, obviously you want to secure everything as best as you can, but can't be done overnight. So what's stage one? What's stage two? What's the end of this? What do you think?
Yeah, I think a good first step is really going for the most obvious ones. Like misconfigured Google Drives are really something that is out there a lot. Like just making sure that you don't have every single document out there publicly accessible. So and that can really be automated in a quite nice way. And that's also one of the big things that we really like about Reco, that it's not only showing you problems, it's actually taking care of them. So, and that's something that's really rare as a security product, that you have a workflow that in the background mitigates all the findings, like in publicly exposed document, like gets just revoked access in a couple seconds. Like that is really something that you can't meet with a human.
By the way, Clifford Zarano says block everything and wait for the phone call. Bad idea. No. Hold it. By the way, am I pronouncing your company name right or wrong? I was saying Rico and you said Reco. What is it? Rico or Reco? What is it?
Rico.
Rico?
Rico.ai. Rico. Yeah.
Rico.ai, by the way, for those of you checking it out. All right, we are just a few minutes from our first game. Before we do, we did get questions in. You see, when I chastise the audience, they do get their questions in. Let's talk about SaaS vetting. And maybe this is a question from Buckaroo B. And Buckaroo B asks, what is the process to vet? So what is exactly what we're trying to vet? Ofer.
Yeah, so you have multiple options. Just a second, sorry. You have multiple options what to vet in an app. The first thing, once it's connected, you could vet the permissions, for example. Does it take data? Does it read data? Does it changes permissions on people? You can vet the vendor itself. You can vet also the people that are using it. A lot of times you have, so this is the app, I don't care who is using it. You do care. Is it, for example, a former employee that is still connected to the app? This is something that you should be aware of. Or is it VIP users like the C-level, or are they junior developers? It's a totally different aspect of how you secure and how you deal with this app.
Would anything else you'd add to that, Robert, in terms of how you're vetting?
Yeah, I would definitely also add like what kind of data it's really dealing with. Is it customer data, or is it just some random tool to develop some design graphics about something? So really, customer data is like really where it gets really, really dangerous.
All right, we're going to go to our first game just a couple minutes early.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
Oh, God, that's timed perfectly right there. The public interest. Okay. This is going to be pretty obvious how this game is played. You're going to see in about just a second right now. These are A-B questions. Our audience plays along as well. So audience, please play along as well. And you're just going to tell me of these two terms, which term gets more monthly search queries. Now, I should mention these are all Google searches, so not security specific. So what do you think gets more, standards or regulations? And by the way, I haven't seen these at all. I didn't create this. Our producer, Rich Straffolino, created it. So I'm gonna guess as well. I'm gonna say B, regulations. I'm going with that. What do you think, Ofer, Robert?
Yeah, me too. I'll go with B.
Yeah,
we're all going B. Everybody's going B here. Let's see what the correct answer is. It is. Ooh, we both lose. All three of us lose. Excuse me. Okay, so we're 0 for 1. Nobody's going to go 4 for 4 today. All right, it was 2 to 1. Standards over regulations. All right, let's see how we do on the next one. Control, discovery, or protect. All right, I'll let you answer first. Ofer, what do you think?
I will go with D.
D, discovery. What do you think?
Yeah.
Robert?
I think it's E for me.
I'm going to E too. I'm going E on this one. So Ofer on D, Robert and I on E, protect, and the correct answer is, ooh, wow, by a whopping margin there. All right, Ofer's winning right now, 1-0 for both of us, Robert. All right, next one. A lot of people answered E on that one. Okay, S3 bucket or data leak. What do you think? That's a good one. S3 bucket or data leak?
Data leak.
Data leak. What do you think, Robert?
And that's a tough one. Let's go with data leak. It's more generic.
Doesn't always play that way, but I'm going to go S3 bucket to see how that plays. just to be contrary. How we go? Ooh, S3 bucket wins. Okay. All right. So I'm in the lead now. 2-1-0, I think, right now. Here we go. Last one. Oh, wow. Okay. Which one? SSO, MFA, IAM, DLP, or UBA? Oh, I don't have gone. I'm going MFA. Definitely. What do you think?
Yeah. I agree with that. MFA.
MFA and Ofer?
I'm a MFA as well.
It's also Master of Fine Arts. We can see what happens. And it is MFA tied for IAM. That's a surprise, though. I'm surprised by that. All right. Well, I beat you all on that one. All right. Thank you very much for playing our first game. All right. Now, as we jump back into, we have some questions, but I have a question for you, Ofer. All right. I want to know specifically how Rico is involved in the SaaS security. The obvious one is what you said at the very beginning is you scan to see what the heck you have. Where does Rico go beyond that? Ofer, I'm sorry. Ofer, I'm talking to you. Can you hear me? Ofer, did you lose? Ofer, can you hear me? Wait. Robert, you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can.
Oh, we're good. We'll come back to that. How about I go to one of the questions that have come in? Ofer will hopefully come back soon enough. This is a good question because I personally have had this problem, Gary, and you tell me if you've had this. Not Gary, I'm sorry, Robert. Gary is the one who submitted the question. And here's the question. SaaS apps often feature complete lack of import-export ability. Do your clients care about this until they try to exit a SaaS app? So I'm going to say, for yourself, have you done this? Because I know personally, I got burnt once and never again am I dealing with this. Anything I buy has to have an export function. What's been your experience, Robert?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think especially if that's like some sort of data that you don't want to get stuck with. Like usually, and that's actually a great case for a lot of AI apps. Oftentimes you do actually not have any way to export. So this is really an interesting problem. I think it's also a problem from a compliance perspective that you necessarily may want to, for regulations, store specific data for a specific amount of time. And if you can't even export, then you're basically stuck for life.
Yeah,
that's scary.
To a vendor, that's awesome. You know,
yeah, sure.
They love that idea.
Sure.
You know, I've actually talked to some. So yeah, it seemed. I essentially, you just have to get burnt once and you're never going to do it again. And I got burnt, and it actually, but honestly, this is what I ended up doing, Robert. I actually had to hire someone out of the Philippines to copy and paste literally like 2,000 entries from one to another. And it actually only cost me a few $100s. It wasn't the end of the world. I think I'd spent about $500-600 on it, but man, yeah, never again.
Painful.
Yeah, painful. But it was like one of those things, like it was one of the things I threw up my hands. I go, I guess this is what I'm going to do. What about this one? How do you balance securing SaaS apps and least access with the business processes and tying people up with block permissions? This is Taylor Kitts who asks this question right now. This must come up all the time. I mean, like you were saying about permissions earlier. What have you experienced?
Yeah, I think there are like things where you really need to be tough on, and then there are things where you can be a little bit more loose, and you can just keep an eye on it. So of course, as long as you don't deal with customer data, I think that's something where you can say, okay, I'm going to review them maybe a little bit more in a lighter way. You're going to see, do they have a trust page? Do they comply with some sort of compliance standards? And then you can always guide your employees and users a bit in a way like this is maybe not such a good idea, but I found an alternative. Does that maybe make sense for you? So don't be that guy that sits in the middle and says no and no and also no. And by the way, if that tool doesn't work for you, this one also doesn't. So because then you'll be the most hated person in the entire company and people will still do it anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, we discuss this endlessly, Department of No nonsense. I mean, our audience knows this. They know not to do that. They're pretty savvy on that respect. All right, we're going to just bang through actually our questions here as we're, God willing, hoping that Ofer is going to return. I don't know. He's unfortunately, just so our audience, just so you know, he's been on his own hotspot in a hotel room. So And sadly, it looks like everything went out for him right now. All right, let me go to the next question here. And by the way, Phil Byer is loving our bad ideas coming in. These are, but we also have 10% better tips, which, by the way, I always give everyone crap about not submitting their 10%, but go with SaaS vendors that are open about their security policy and procedures. That makes sense. By the way, let me ask that question that James was put out there. He's the one who said that 10% better tip. How open have you found SaaS vendors to be with their security policies and procedures, Robert?
It's getting really better. Really, I'm getting more positively surprised. Lots of SaaS companies opted now for having public trust pages. So this is amazing. You can like quickly self-serve whatever you want. The SOC 2 report, any sort of other things, like the Pentest report about going through like 200 million other questions in customer support, all there. So it's getting better. It's really getting better.
Okay. By the way, he's trying to come back into the meeting on the waiting page. He is trying to come back on the meeting on the waiting page. So I'm sorry, Oz had mentioned something. Aaron, our producer, is Ofer trying to come back in? Can you re-invite him or something? Is he actually on? Oh, so he has an invite. Okay, so he does have an invite already. So hopefully he'll find that and discover. All right. This is not the first time we've had technical issues before. It does happen, sadly. Let's go back to some questions here because we have some more that have come in. Have you done, this is from Jackie Hua. I hope I'm not pronouncing it too wrong. But Jackie asks, how do we warrant a backdoor access to the SaaS app, and exactly how is that manifested, I would ask, so we don't get locked out completely? Has that kind of thing happen? And, my fear is if you create that access, that's creating access for the wrong people as well. Have you addressed this issue, Robert?
Yeah, we usually try to get like an admin seat for the IT team. So now the admin seat is then reserved to the IT team and they can govern access. So that's usually how it works very well. The problem is if you don't have that kind of setup and IT is not managing the account, then you will potentially never get access to that thing again unless you impersonate.
He's back. Ofer,
nice.
We missed you.
Back.
We love
hello.
All
Technical issues.
Yeah, well, you're not the first. So wasn't too bad. We burned through a few questions from our audience. But I think we were in a discussion with you about what Rico is doing in the security program. And I do want to close out that conversation here. So let's go back to that. We know that you're scanning. Pick up from there, Ofer.
Yeah, so what we do is basically using an AI technology that is called an AI graph technology. We connect in minutes. We take metadata, read-only, basically almost no permissions that we need. We'd never take the data itself. And we aggregate that within literally minutes into every interaction between people, applications, and data. The value we provide is within a few hours. The first thing is identify every app you have in your environment. The second level is drill down on your core apps to be able to understand what are the configurations, configuration management, and then configuration drift. The third step is the same thing about identity. We're an identity-centric solution to understand who are the users. Is it an admin? Is it a living employee, former employee? Is it a contractor? So we combine for the first time the application level, the identity level in one place. And the last piece is basically advanced threat detection, which allows detection and response, as Robert mentioned, to be able to alert and to control this SaaS environment in a very, very simple way. How simple? We usually save about 70% of the effort compared to any other SSPM or SaaS security tool.
So this is actually quite interesting because literally everything you just hit right there, Ofer, is stuff we have communicated with our audience again and again and again. And it's kind of interesting that you have built this very systematic approach at each level because, like the obvious thing of, and we mentioned this before, is I'm assuming with Rico, and if it's not being used, it's open for unnecessary reasons. Those things are like the the easy pickings of you can find them, close them down. Did you do this, Robert? Like, how quick was it when you saw your scan and you saw what was being unused? You were able to shut it down. Like, what was the time period you could do that?
Yeah, it's extremely fast. And that's the power of automation. You
Yeah.
can just like an API call just gets that result a lot faster done than a human being could ever. So
What do you mean by fast? Like that day,
that's
or like how?
seconds. That's
It's
seconds.
seconds. Okay.
That's seconds. A human being, like if we really think through it, it's like you have some sort of, assuming you have some sort of SIEM alerting, then you have a ticket. Somebody needs to open the ticket. Somebody needs to triage the ticket, figure out, okay, what actually really happened here. Like the average time to respond is like never going to be seconds if a human being is involved. That's always going to be minutes if you're extremely good, hours. That's way too long.
But the one thing that I want to though come back to you, Ofer, is this thing about configuration drift. Because I remember having a conversation with Adam Glick, who now is the CISO over at Simply Safe, and he said, "What I would love to know," and he said this years ago, and so it seems like you're addressing it now. So this is the thing: is he said, "What I'd love to know is I set this today, and it was perfect, or not today. I set this a year ago, and it was perfect a year ago. I know it's not perfect now. What percentage of not perfect is it now? Kind of a thing. Like, where am I from that optimal setting I had a year ago?" So can you walk me through what you're seeing and how you're able to discover that point from a year ago to today, Ofer?
Yeah. So the vast majority of the market today is still aligning with audits. Audit you can do every year, you can do every 6 months. Let's say the audit was perfect. It took you 2 weeks out of your time, and today is perfect. In 5 minutes' time, it could be changed, like the MFA change, or creating a highly privileged users, the attack of many companies. And then what's next? Now you wait for 6 months. You need something to automatically scan through dozens and dozens of checks through every core app to understand what is the configuration, what is the drift, to be able to alert in real time. And actually then, a lot of times it's just a mistake. Sometimes it could be an attack vector. You can stop right there because you understand something bad is happening. So configuration and configuration drift have to go together in order to keep you secure as well as compliant.
Mm-hmm. So how have you managed configuration drift yourself, Robert? And I'd like to hear from the chat room of like how they've been dealing with configuration drift as well, because this seems to be the big bugaboo. Agree or disagree, Robert, in terms of like everything else seems reasonably simple and systematic to handle, but the drift is the real issue.
Yes, I agree. That's really a big problem because you don't want to be too restrictive, because there may be these outlier cases where that one insecure configuration is totally fine because you just want to share whatever with your external marketing team. But that same setting here could really, really mess your security posture up if that are the board meetings, the board meeting notes, or something like that. So that is really something where the continuous monitoring becomes really important, because you get directly alerted on anything that is totally out of the ordinary, and you have that classification of the sensitivity of the data, so that marketing document will not get an alert, but that the board meeting notes will. So, and that really allows you to be actionable.
Actually, another element that you can think of posture drift or configuration drift, you think about the configuration in the app. What about configuration on people? If I have admin access, it's a type of configuration drift. Someone just gave me an access to do everything I want in Salesforce. If my account is being taken over, I can kick everyone out, and I'm the only owner of Salesforce. It's like a new ransomware on SaaS. So configuration drift could be on the app, MFA, SSO, the basic stuff. It could be also on people, that you get too much permission and effectively an admin and nobody knows.
Good point. All right, Rich, are you ready? Can we hear the name of our game that we're playing right now? Cyberburst. There you go. That's it. It's Cyberburst. That's an end game. We'll have a song for that, I'm sure, soon enough. But we're gonna have. I appreciate that. So this is how this game. I'm going to give you a category, and audience, you are playing along. All right, Robert, I'm going to have you go first, and it's going to be. I'm going to give you the name of the category in a sense. Everyone whose last name is A through M will play along with Robert, and you may type in anything you can think of. All I ask is you don't go to the internet search or go to ChatGPT to find out the answers, all right? But you, from your memory, pop up as anything that you can. So what it is, the category, and I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute. Again, Rich and myself will check off as many of these as we can. You get 1 point for everyone you get right. Ofer, you keep listening because for everyone he doesn't get right, you get to try to select those, or you try to get the ones that he missed. All right. The category is top 10 AAS services. So we definitely know one. There's one you shouldn't have a problem with, but you have to come up with 10 more. You have 1 minute. Audience A through M, go ahead, begin. Okay, go ahead. What do you got?
Oh God.
Robert.
Okay.
Obvious ones. Go.
The obvious ones.
We're talking about it. Look at the title.
I don't know.
What is the name of this event? Hacking the
yeah.
security
SaaS,
journey.
SaaS, of course.
There
SaaS,
we
of
go.
course.
Give me the
Infrastructure as a
others.
service. Penetration testing as a service. What else could be?
Read
Platform
what
as a
people are writing.
service.
What?
Integration as a service.
Integration, no.
Look to the chat.
Look to the chat. They're going to help you.
Yeah, PTAS. I already had PTAS.
No, we did that. P-test. Come on, guys.
Burgers as a service. That doesn't work.
Keep going, people. 15 seconds.
I like that one. Web Firewall as a service. The first time I hear about that. What else could it be?
Well, there's two other obvious ones. Come on, look at what they're writing. Read what they're writing. They have answers.
Malware as
in
a
here.
service. Malware as a service is not a thing. Disaster recovery as a service. No.
Disaster recovery as a service. Okay.
Okay. Ransomware as a service. I like this one. That is cool.
Okay. Well, you're too late for that one. But
We're giving it to him. I have
giving
it
it to
marked
him?
down.
Okay.
We're giving it to him. All right.
okay. Which ones did he get?
I have 4.
Which
4?
ones?
I have
Say the ones you
software as a service,
Yes.
infrastructure as a service, ransomware as a service, and disaster recovery as a
Okay,
service.
we're giving all that. That means you get 4 points. That means
Look
you
at
get
that.
2 points for each one. Ofer, there's some really obvious ones you should be able to get here. Ofer, on your marks. Are you ready? Remember, N through Z is supporting Ofer. And by the way, some people typed in some answers in here. Okay, ready? So you can look at the old ones. Ready? Go.
You have cloud as a service.
No.
You have containers as a service. You have
Yes.
obviously PaaS.
Pass? Yes.
PaaS. You have data as a service. That's
Database as a service, as we'll take. Yes.
okay. Disaster recovery. Said it
He
already?
had that one already.
Okay. Framework as a service. Hardware as a service. Basically,
No.
leasing your hardware.
You got 3 more here.
IoT as a service.
No.
No.
Not on my list.
This as a service. Thank you.
Someday.
The 3 other ones are tough. I'll tell you, the last 3 are tough. Keep going. Look at the. Let's see. Maybe someone's got to get
SaaS,
booze
PaaS,
as a service. Oh, I see someone did actually post the correct answer for one of them in
Mass?
there.
SaaS we said, PaaS we said, IaaS, MAS, MAS,
No.
MSP.
No. We are 3, 2, 1. You're out. Okay. I only got 3 more. Did you get 3 more?
I have 3 more. I had platform as a service, database as a service, and container as a service.
Same
Database?
here. You get 2 for each of them. Ofer is ahead, 6-4 right now. The ones you missed, which I saw come through, security as a service, function as a service, and identity as a service. All right. Now we're starting with you, Ofer. This you should do very well at because you found 11,000 of them. David Spark as a service. I like that. DSaaS.
The CLA on that, or SLA, you don't want it.
No, that horrible SLA, absolutely horrible SLA on that. My wife will let you know about that too. The top 10 SaaS apps, top 10 actual SaaS apps. This you should know. You've seen these before. N through Z is supporting over. Ready, begin.
You have Microsoft 365. You
Yes.
have Teams, Zoom,
Yes.
Salesforce,
Yes.
ServiceNow, Workday,
No.
GitHub, Slack,
Slack.
Yes.
Jira,
No. There's another big one you missed.
Google,
Google, yes.
obviously, OneDrive, G Drive.
No.
If you
Keep
call
going.
them as-
You're very close. What's the other? OneDrive, G Drive. What else?
You have OneDrive, G Drive, the 365 in general. You
Another
have
big
Microsoft
drive.
Teams.
Another big drive. What's the other big one?
This isn't pyramid.
Come on.
You have,
David's trying to play pyramid, that $10,000 pyramid.
Oh, somebody look at
you have
what Clifford just
0365,
posted in there.
Tableau, Dropbox.
Dropbox. Yes.
Dropbox, yes.
Four
Salesforce,
more.
We said Box. We said Box.
4 seconds.
We said
Although I don't know, did he get number 7 there, Rich?
No, I have. We're out.
and
I have
Cajun, we
Microsoft,
said Jira.
yes.
We said
I have
Jira.
Microsoft 365, Salesforce, Google Workspace, formerly G Suite, Zoom, Slack, and Dropbox were
So
the
there's
ones.
4 more. So you get 6 points for that. Now, by the way, if you get all 4 of these, it will be tied, Robert. So you're looking for a tie here. Get all 4 and you go for a tie. Are you ready? Team, you can help out here. Remember, actually, I am seeing a few answers actually are going by. A through M to help Robert. Ready? Begin.
Awesome. Let's go with Workday.
No.
Yeah, we said it.
Workday, Confluence actually. Confluence we didn't
No.
have yet.
There's a big one you're missing, a huge one. Which,
Big-
you know what? It's not really an AAS. So I'm going to be honest. It's not really a SaaS app. But it's big.
Oh.
I know, because we talked about this, but it's on our list.
Maybe
It's a
CrowdStrike.
big one. What?
CrowdStrike. Could
No.
CrowdStrike? Maybe.
No.
Maybe. Oh,
They're not
okay.
on our list.
What else could it be?
Well, there's one I saw go by.
Snowflake? Jira?
No,
No.
keep going.
Adobe?
Yeah,
Adobe, yes.
ding ding.
Oh, nice. Okay.
3
Okay.
more.
3 more.
14 seconds.
LinkedIn, maybe.
No.
Google Cloud.
No, we did that already.
You're on the right track.
I'm not checking.
You're on the right track. What's the competitor? Google Cloud. Oh, you're out. You got 2. You got 2. The other one was the ones you missed. You only got 1, correct, Rich?
That is correct. I only had.
What you missed, which isn't really a SaaS, is AWS. Nobody said AWS, which
It's
I
a
know
weird-
it's not
It's not a
really
SaaS.
SaaS. I know.
It has SaaS apps, but you know,
Yes, it has
you build one off of it.
the other 2 are Zendesk and HubSpot.
Okay.
But 12-6 overtakes it. Very good on Cyberburst. Very good. All right. I know it's not SaaS. AWS is not a SaaS. I know, Clifford, and I don't need anybody telling me it's not. I know. We just had it on our list. All right. That's why I said there's one that's big that's not really considered a SaaS. It's not a SaaS. Come on, DS. I know. All right. Clifford, we got it. Not. Are you on the floor kicking and screaming right now, Clifford? Because I know you are. All right, let's go back to our questions, all right? And we'll play our next game with probably about 15 minutes ago. All right, let's go to the questions. Here we go, the questions. Because we have a few more. This is a really good one. And I don't know if you've got a solution. I'm just going to start with you. Buckaroo B asks, how do you handle offshore SaaS that will retain some customer data? And I accidentally said that was answered. I want to pull that back. What do you do? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so again, we start with identifying what apps you have. Starting with that, who is using it, what are the configurations. We don't go into the data itself of these apps unless it's a core app. If it's a core app, we do scan and we do understand who is using and the data exposure of it. So my suggestion, first to understand that who is using these apps, what's the configuration, to make sure the exposure is limited as much as possible. And then you can set up controls on the posture as well as who is using them. Like the admins, you would reduce dramatically the amount of posture. How dramatically? Usually we measure about 75 to 80% reduction in exposure only by doing these steps.
Robert, have you ever had a situation where you're dealing with a SaaS app and you've had to bring the legal team in, like going, I don't know about how this is retaining stuff. Like, where are we with our audit? Like, how are we going to manage this?
Of course. And I think offshore is really like a great example. I mean, oftentimes, depending on your contractual obligations that you have with your customers, it doesn't even work. So that's stop right there. if it ends up working, I really recommend you going through your strict vendor due diligence process, and you make sure that there is some sort of like compliance assurance that you have on that side. They have maybe at least a SOC 2 report. Maybe they have some pen test reports you can look at. Maybe you can make them sign a really good DPA. Maybe you can build in some audit rights so you can actually make sure that they adhere to whatever you ask them to sign. But that's really a tough one, because offshore ones, really, I would really like to advise people to not use too many of them.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right, I think I have one more question. And by the way, if you have a question, jump in, say this. Oh, our bad ideas. I'm going to take a look at those in just a second, because we're going to play the Department of Yes soon, which I did not explain how that it works, but you're going to soon find out. All right, this comes from Gary Longsign, who has many SaaS apps appear to be designed. Here, let me show this. For stovepipe user auth and permission management, have you had any luck trying to get a SaaS vendor to integrate with a scalable enterprise auth? Either one of you jump on in this, whichever you think you can, if you've had luck doing this. Ofer, Robert?
Yeah, go ahead, Robert, if you want.
Yeah, it's actually tough. Usually it doesn't work, or you have to pay more for it. So that is often not happening. You can use that in renewal negotiations and use that as a little bit of leverage. If you want to see if maybe there's any option they will ever do that for you. But what I found out is, like, if they don't offer that already, it's very unlikely that you will end up getting them to do it.
Yeah, my version for that is that what we do find is a lot of people not even using, let's say, the SSO of the app. So forcing a vendor to do something is very hard. Using whatever they have in the most effective way is really, really valuable. I'll give you an example. You have 100 people going into ChatGPT and applying email and password instead of SSO. Hey, Joe, you're using this app in a shadow app way. If you use this SSO, this is the right way to do. Or you're using these apps and you should use the other apps. So you cannot force the vendor. It's much easier to educate the users and to govern how they're using the apps in a much more controllable way.
This is we were mentioning offshore. Let's go to this James Sparenberg question. How to find if your onshore vendor is using offshore support, which I'm assuming they are, without your control, aka outsource work by the SaaS vendor. My feeling, you can't have any control of that. I mean, do you? I mean, that's, you choose the vendor, whatever they do kind of a thing. Yes?
Kind of
out of our scope, to be honest.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Ofer?
It is out of our scope, to be honest, which vendors are using it.
Yeah. There's, my feeling is you're, the heck with it. You can't deal with that. I think I go to this one question, then we'll go to our game. This is a good question we want to ask. How do you establish a discover, control, protect framework?
Yeah, the discover, control, and protect framework is basically the first step to understand what you have. This is extremely important. Then you prioritize. Then the control is applying controls.
Essentially, we're doing. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. And applying the controls, and then the protect is actually taking the action, like Robert mentioned. You can take it by a dedicated vendor, like the SaaS Security Rico, and you can take it by your existing security stack, like the SIEM, automation tools, and et cetera, et cetera. So the entire flow should be extremely effective for you to utilize it.
All right. So this, what you say? Okay. Let's answer this next question, and then we'll jump to our next game. I'm going to ask you this one, Robert. How do you align your SaaS security strategy with the broader business objectives of your organization? Because my feeling, these are as intrinsically tied as you possibly can get. Yes, Robert? So,
yeah.
I mean, the only reason a SaaS app exists is because the business wants to use it, correct?
Of course. Of course. And again, it's not your job to sit around and be the blocker all day.
Right. And our audience knows this as well. So, give me some, instead of blocking, what are some like more, I guess, specific issues that you are dealing with over time? Like I'm assuming access rights, like what, give me some other ideas of things that you're dealing with.
Yeah, I think really important is that you have a good vendor procurement process, really. It's like, and continue telling and educating your employees about like not using whatever you find out there and signing up for your SSO. So you kind of keep that manageable. So that's why something like a tool like Rico is actually cool, because you see people violating that vendor procurement policy, and people maybe start paying for something with their personal credit card and expensing it that you were not aware of. So making sure that you have that established vendor procurement process, and that you have really in that process legal involved, that security is approving it, that finance is approving it, that you're making sure that you do collect security collateral, like any sort of compliance reports. You send them a questionnaire. Do they use any person in offshore countries? You can ask all these questions, and they will respond to it, and you can judge by the response how serious they really are. So it's really having guardrails that enable the business to still use whatever they want, and you just are like the advisor to make it in a secure way.
All right, guys, I have a call that just came in.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
Okay. Here is how this game is played. Did you see these bad ideas? There were a lot of good ones. Many of them are coming in. And these are some doozies. So the way this game is played, you've been talking about this, Robert, like you're not there to be a blocker. You don't want to be the Department of No, but you're going to be here, the Department of Yes. But what you're going to say yes to are these horrible, horrible ideas. So without being facetious, both of you, I want you to explain why you actually want to implement these ideas that I read out to you. So find the silver lining. Tell me why you want to do it. So this comes from Mauricio, and I like this one. Create an internal competition for all employees. Who has the most SaaS accounts? Then you fire all those with the biggest number of accounts that are not approved by the company. Robert, why do you want to do this?
Great idea. Like internal competitions are always fun. Totally
They
HR
are fun.
approved. Really good, really good. It's like team
This has
cohesion.
got a little bit of a Squid Game element to it.
Yeah, right. It's like it gets people entertained. It's something that you can discuss on all hands calls. So really nice. I see the team dynamic play here. Really nice.
But the problem is you're firing the employees who have the most. So
Yeah,
why
but-
do you want to do that?
Well, yeah, you want to like really work on the competitive culture of the company. It's like you kind of reduce headcount also, so you'll make finance happy.
Okay, I'll give that. I like the fact that you mentioned reducing headcount, because sometimes you need to, especially when we're in a tough time. All right, Ofer, why do you want to do this?
Yeah, I think that one of my challenges is that I have engagement issues, and this is a great game. So we had this pizza game, we had a lot of things, and now this is technology combined with a great game. And the outcome is I'm going to save so much money for the company because some people are going to leave. And then I'm going to save
there'll
money
be
as well.
winners. That's the thing. The spin it this way: you're getting laid off, you're getting fired, but you won the game. Yes. There you go. Think about it that way. All right. Now this next one, before I read it, I'm just going to say I just read the first sentence and I immediately knew who submitted it, because as I like to say when I read these, this one had the stench of Dutch Schwartz all over it. Here you go. Watch Die Hard. You've seen the movie Die Hard, both of you. Yes, Ofer, Robert?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, it's considered one of the greatest Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
Watch Die Hard while approving your SaaS apps. Every time Bruce Willis talks into a walkie-talkie, just delete 10 apps. Every time Christmas is mentioned, delete another 50 apps. Every time Bruce Willis eliminates a bad guy, delete 100 apps. When the credits rolls, you'll have 0 apps left, unless you started with 11,000, right, Ofer? So I'm going to ask you first, why do you want to do this Die Hard-driven version way of reducing your apps in your environment?
Yeah. First, I have a great explanation why I deleted the apps. Because Bruce Willis talked, right?
Oh,
so
there you
first
go.
I had amazing.
If anyone complains, they go, can't do anything. Yes. Go ahead. Continue.
It's auditable. I can share exactly. I have an explanation for everything I do. And then at the end of the day, nobody can blame me.
Exactly. It's auditable. That's an excellent point, Ofer. That's you really won on that one. All right, Robert, why do you want to do this one?
I think it's a really nice strategy for enforcing your data retention policy. You can just like delete everything, everything out of the window. That is a great strategy. Also, really, what you will extend your runway like crazy. Like depending on how long or how many times you repeat watching the movie, you'll end up extending your runway 4 years. Like if you kill the right ones. So
Well, yeah, think about it. If you do this on an annual basis, yes.
Yeah,
It's
quarterly.
It's like your cleanup at the end of the year. I totally get it. Oh, yeah! By the way, both of you played that game very well. I'm quite impressed. As someone who's totally not prepared for it, did it very well. Throw the 10% better tips in here too as well, Rich. Now, we're going to have to do a closing because we are 10 minutes from wrapping this whole thing up. Everyone, would you do me a favor? Would you click on the link at the bottom of the screen for our next one, which isn't going to be till January 12th, Hacking the Data Privacy Paradox. This is going to be a really interesting conversation of you need to do business, but you also need privacy. How are you going to handle this? So click on that because that's going to change soon. Robert, what is the question that I have not asked about the SaaS security journey that people need to know or need to know the issue?
I think something that really people forget often is like you need to think when you start using all these different vendors that you really need to think of how you get off them. Like
Yes.
that is really one big thing. Data retention, I think, is the biggest problem when you're using 11,000 apps. This is like crazy. All your data is stuck there. You have no clue what they even do with that. Do they just use it for your customer case? Do they do it in terms of AI? Is your data used to train some sort of crazy model somewhere? You have no control over it. So I think data retention and privacy is going to be a huge thing.
Hey everybody, we have a new poll. I think I just made the poll visible, Aaron. I think that's what I did by hitting the poll. If you would learn more about Rico and the cool stuff they're doing with SaaS applications, essentially you have two options on the poll. You can select yes or of course. So those are your two options. We'll happily make a nice warm introduction to Rico there. So please feel free to click that and connect with Ofer and the team over at Rico. Ofer, what have I not asked you about that people need to understand about SaaS security journeys?
I think one of the biggest questions we're getting lately is how can AI help me doing my job better? AI is doing a lot of great things for productivity. How can it help securing the SaaS better? And actually, we've been implementing AI for the last 3 years, way before it became cool. One of the co-founders is AI PhD. And we're utilizing AI on several elements. For example, identify every app. We taught the model of tens of thousands of apps to understand what is the app, what is the risk. You cannot do it manually. To be able to identify behavior analytics, to identify user mesh. You have one login for Salesforce, another login for GitHub. Is it the same person? So you have a lot of things you can do with AI to be able to provide visibility as well as prioritization to make your life dramatically easier and more effective.
All right. I'm going to just do some closing comments on today's event, and then we're going to come back and close out the show. Huge thanks to your company, Ofer, Rico, for making this event possible. Thank you very much. Just go to rico.ai to learn more about them. Or remember, click on that little poll we put up. It's just two options. Essentially, just click on anything in the poll, and we will give you a nice little warm handoff to the people over at Rico. Hey, starting in 97 minutes from right now, we're doing our Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review show. That is over actually on YouTube. And we have Rusty Waldron, who's the Chief Business Security Officer over at ADP. We essentially cover the 8 biggest stories of the week. And in fact, Rich Straffolino, who is responsible for that Cyberburst sound, he's our reporter who will be handling that coming up very, very soon. Stick around for a meetup. Look at that. Aaron changes it. That link will take you to our meetup. If you've never come to one of our post-show meetups, please come. They're a lot of fun. Ofer and Robert, I believe, will be both there as well. You can chat with them, chat about SaaS, AI, anything else you happen to want to chat about. Also, you want to sponsor Super Cyber Friday? Just email me at david@cisoseries.com. In fact, I think the last 2 weeks of January or last week of January is available right now if you want to jump in on that as well. All right. With that being said, let me close that out. And we have exactly 6 minutes left right now. Do we have any questions left? Oh, nice job today, Robert and Ofer. Great to see everyone. Got to drop for a meeting, sadly. We were going to miss we don't have more questions, but let me close with this, Ofer. What is the big thing that I think most people miss? I'm going to guess it's the sheer number of apps they have, since you asked them the question, but more ongoing. Where does this problem slip? Is it the configuration drift issue, Ofer?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that you need to understand that you need to address the SaaS security issue.
Yeah.
It was there for a few years. It grew up dramatically in the last 6 to 12 months.
Mhm.
And I think the first thing you need to understand is that you need to address it. The big issue here is that if you think the problem is too big to address, a lot of times you don't even start.
Mhm.
So the way to do it and the way we do it with our customers is step by step. The least amount of permissions, very short amount of effort, and then you get the win. For example, posture management, configuration drift. Great. Now you move to discover the apps. You remove what you don't need. You remove what nobody is using. You got a win. Next, compliance. Next, identity and access management. So you have a plan that you have every step you get a win. You make your company more secure, more compliant, and you move to the next step.
I think I like this systematic approach to it. Robert, what about you? What have you found has been the way you've been making your biggest wins here? And you can just tag exactly what Ofer just said, or where do you think?
I think really having the automated remediation is huge. It's really huge because there's so many security vendors out there that tell you all your problems, but they kind of hand it off and tell you like, okay, good luck with that.
Yeah. The scanning part, it seems everyone seems to be able to do.
Yes, exactly. Visibility, everybody can do visibility. So
Yeah.
the thing is more like, who is fixing my problems? Because I don't have a shortage of problems. I have a shortage of people that fix things. And that is great to see when you have like automated workflows that literally work for you 24/7 and you don't have to pay them.
All right. Just closing, Ofer, I'm assuming if people just go to rico.ai, they can find more about you. Also, going to LinkedIn, good way to connect with you as well, yes?
Yes, and on the website you have a requested demo. We will be very happy to show you how it works and to get your view.
Yeah, and you can play the game with Ofer of how many SaaS apps you think you have, because you'll be wrong. Although you could say 11,000 and then actually be less than that, and
That's
that might be the first.
Yeah.
Has anyone overestimated Ofer?
Never.
Never.
Including the number of admins. You have a number of AI apps who have this game that we play.
Yeah.
And never ever overestimated.
Okay, well, now everybody knows the high end, so you could be the first. Robert, I'm assuming, by the way, is either of you hiring right now at your companies, at Cresta or at Rico?
Yeah, you can look at our website to see the open.
Okay, and also you're going to be in the chat as well. All right, let's wrap this sucker up right now. Thank you very much to Robert Kugler and Ofer Klein, Robert over at Cresta, Ofer over at Rico. Thank you to Rico as well for making this happen. I want to thank our producers, Andrew Friels, Rich Straffolino, and Aaron Diaz for making this all possible. It was Aaron running the whole darn show and Rich making sure that the games and all worked smoothly. So thank you, everybody. Do me a favor, everyone. Oh, if anyone's in San Diego, we're having a meetup in San Diego too. You can, I can tell you about it if you don't know about it in the chat. So click the link at the bottom of the screen. Please join us in the chat. We want to see you there. Thank you, everybody. Take us out, Aaron.